Hey guys, it's TF Nut. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another action figure review. This is going to be of the brand new Bandai Tamashii Nations S.H Figuarts Spy Family Yor Forger figure. I've reviewed the previous two figures here on the channel. Now I have the third one here. Very excited to finally complete the main trio, the family, of course, of Spy Family. We're going to get different versions of these characters later this year with school uniform on, I should say, as well as casual versions of Lloyd, Yor, and a Bond figure. Very excited for all of that. This one here took a little longer than I would have liked from Amiami to ship. They've been a little late with some of their shipping lately and their shipping notifications, but I'm still getting it earlier than domestic, so that's a good thing. Really quick, want to show off the other packagings of the figures I reviewed here because, as you can see, there is a similarity to the size. Not only that, but the different colors here. They all share this type of green, but then each of their characters have a unique color to them. And this one here in the middle has more of like a rose gold almost coloring, and I really like that color on this packaging here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the overall packaging from the front here. You can see where it says Bandai Namco, as well as the figure right there in the box. Some of the accessories, some of the different face plates right there. You also see where it says S.H Figuarts Yor Forger. I read about the S.H Figuarts line. You have this image in the background in that color, the rose gold. But then the foreground, just the normal colors of her, looking really nice with that angry expression. We also have Spy Family right there. It's a little hard to see, but you do have the Tamashii Nations quality sticker as well. And then you have the Tamashii Nations and Bandai logos there as well. Still not sure what Shot Pro is right there. Now, on the side here, to give you a quick wide shot, and then I'll zoom in a little bit. It says S.H Figuarts, of course, as well as it says Yor Forger, and just a full body image of the character right there. On this side, it just says S.H Figuarts Yor Forger. And then in that green color this time, you see here with one of the surprised expressions. That looks hilarious. Top of the box just says the character's name. Again, you get an image of the figure right there. Bottom, very much the same thing, except this time it's one of the funnier, sad comedic faces right there. That's hilarious. Now, on the back of the packaging here, you can just get a wide shot right there. Zooming in a little bit close, you get to see all those different faces and options you get with this figure. A lot of stuff going on here, and then a lot of stuff I don't understand, unfortunately, because I did not have the bluefin sticker on here. I had this imported, but this age is 15 and up, and then you have a barcode there just in case you need it. Let's go ahead and get this figure out of the packaging. Here is the figure out of the packaging, and I do think that this is a really nice figure, and they captured the look of Yor here very well. There are some things about this figure that aren't perfect, unfortunately. Kind of common with the previous two. They're not perfect either, but that's not to say that either of these figures are bad. Let's go ahead and take a look at the accessories Yor comes with, and we'll take a closer look at the figure. So here's a quick image of all the accessories this figure comes with. If this is a good enough look for any of you, I do recommend skipping to the next section of the video. I have the chapter function enabled for that. Here is the inside flap. If you scan this barcode here, it does take you to Tamashii Nations website, and it does show you an image of the actual instruction booklet for Yor there. They've been doing this stuff paperless for a little bit with some of these figures. You can see just some of the different accessory pieces and how to interchange that on here. This is also for a survey if you want to scan that too. Hopefully I'm not too shaky. It's a little bit hard to see on the inside here, but you can see they also show off some of the different hands, how to use the weapons, and it's a little bit blocked right there, but it also goes over the shoulder pad pieces. Not really shoulder pads, just the shoulder pieces there. So let's focus up really quick on this face. We'll start with the faces first. This is a more open, smiling face, and I think that the actual sculpting here is great. The printing of the eyes is fantastic. I guess this is like a crease in the eye there. It looks a little weird because you have the eyebrows there and then like the crease for the eyes, I guess. Not entirely sure what's going on there. I guess it's probably going to look normal once I put the actual face on the figure. The gold earrings come through really nice. We have this matte finish on all these faces for the skin tone here, and it might be a little bit bright on my camera, but the lip color and like the mouth and teeth, all that looks fine. You have a little bit of an outline of lipstick right there. None of that blends in too much if you ask me. Some of the images I was seeing when people were getting this online lately, the mouths look a little weird. Like this one, I don't know. The lipstick and the open mouth kind of blend in a little too much. Doesn't look too bad though. This is a shocked, surprised face looking off to the side. And then we have this painted on, I believe actually, no, it is painted on. I thought it was sculpted a little bit. That painted on sweat mark there. Again, pretty nice gold earrings. I could see just a tiny bit of the gold bleeding onto this ear though, but it's not that big of a deal. Next up, the angry face. This is a sick one. This is really nice. Wow, this is actually kind of scary looking. We do have just one solid lip color around her frown there. Again, the ears, all that comes through pretty nice, better than the previous face. It wasn't that bad on the previous face, but those piercing eyes are done really well. Again, the printing on all these so far is really great. I don't think there's any splotches on any of this yet. And then we have this more sad, kind of crying face here, a little bit of blush marks on the side. Now this tear is actually sculpted on there and painted pretty nicely. It's just one solid white color there, so that's cool. Lip color there, nice pout. Yeah, all that is really nice. And then that's what the inside some of those faces look like. Her weapons, going over these really quick, we get two of these. I'm never really sure what these are called. These are like ice picks almost, but they're in a like a gold. That's like two different tones of gold, almost like bronze for the handle, and then the actual gold. That metallic paint comes through really nice. These are a more they're a tiny bit bendy, but they're still they're pretty brittle actually, so they're pretty stiff. I would not recommend messing around with these too much, especially here. They're a little bit pointy, so just be careful with that. And apparently, if you leave these in the hands too long, it may cause paint rubbing. So keep that in mind. Really quick, we do have some alternate hands. So the figure comes packaged with a smile as well as flat open hands. Looks like there's a black speck in there. Maybe I can get that off later, off camera. But these are the gripping hands for the weapons there. Also, it looks like a little bit of black is going onto the thumb, just a little too much. Looking at the fingernails, the paint on here is actually really decent. But look at the thumb, especially the right thumb. That splotching of the skin tone is a little inconsistent. It's not the greatest. They do kind of like... So this definitely looks like skin. It's a bit matte, but the fingers look like skin. Then they do separate it a little bit with a little bit of detailing. Like some wrinkles around her wrists. And the black matte paint there is actually really nice. So that separation to make it look like skin to glove is really sick. Last but not least, we have a pair of fists. Similar in approach to the previous hands I was talking about. Looks like a little bit, just a tiny bit of skin tone is onto the black of the palm. I'm really just nitpicking here. It's really not that big of a deal. Tiny bits of splotches here and there, so that's a little unfortunate for how much you're paying. It's like 65, 70 bucks. But it could be worse QC. Still, though, some people don't find it acceptable, and I totally understand that. There's really not much else to talk about here. A little bit of paint on the thumbnail there for the nail polish. All that is pretty nice. So it doesn't come with as many accessories as maybe Lloyd, but we still got a pretty good amount of stuff for this figure. Starting off by taking a look at this figure's face she comes packaged with. I think that this is a really gorgeous looking figure. All these faces across the board are done really nicely. They captured how Yor is supposed to look very well. The eyes on here look really great. They're printed very nicely. The eyeshadow too, that's nice. Or the eyelashes, I guess, not really eyeshadow. We do also have those creases again above the eyes and then towards the eyebrows. So I'm not entirely sure if that's just a detail I've missed and I've never noticed on Yor. I'll have to look at some manga panels later. But the lip color too, that comes through really nice. We do also have these soft plastic pieces for her hair. So that way, potentially scuffing on the skin tone isn't going to be too much of a problem. And then the earrings, the gold on the earrings, those also look pretty good. We also have her gold rose headband here, and it looks like these are actually a softer plastic, so that's good. You're not going to have to be too nervous about breaking that, so that's good. It might warp a little bit, but I think you can maybe warp it back just fine. The metallic gold on here looking really good. You can tell though that this is a bit of a different sculpt, definitely glued on here, but it still looks fine. And you have the gold all the way wrapped around. The bangs also have some pretty decent sculpting, not super duper sculpted, like not that much detail in there, but as much as it needs for the character. A little bit of creases in the top of the hair too. All this is pretty smooth, but then you get more creasing towards the braid, and that braid comes through very nicely. The neck piece here on her dress has a lot of individual sculpting going on there, which is really nice. It looks a little uneven with some of the patterning, but you can maybe excuse that with, the the fact that she's wearing that. Maybe that wouldn't be all that even in real life. So as you notice here with these shoulder straps, these do actually hinge. I am afraid of keeping them hinged like this, because even though this is the accurate look here with these straps going around the shoulder, it could eventually, you know, rub the black onto the skin tone. So because of that, you know, it's good that they gave us this function just in case, but it feels like this is actually painted. If this was molded in a glossier plastic, I don't think it would have been too much of a problem. Maybe still could have, but when I, you know, display here, unfortunately, I'm going to have to raise these up so that way these don't, you know, scuff permanently. I'll leave them back down for now for the rest of the review, so that way you get an idea of how the accurate look is done here. You have that gold piece on her necklace there, and that's about all I'm going to say about the rest of the chest. You have some back straps, of course. You do have the skin tone. It looks like there is this type of shading going on in her skin tone. I don't know if it's picking up too well from the brightness. It looks a little bit more tan in some areas, but then you look at the joint and it is a little bit too light compared to the rest of it here. In person, this elbow joint isn't as bad, but it's still a little bit light compared to the rest here. So, you know, they added a little bit of paint and shading. I do wish they maybe went a little bit heavier on the joints. They could have rubbed off on the joints though, unfortunately. So who knows? I don't think it looks too distracting. It's mostly distracting the shoulders, unfortunately. I do think also this part of the shoulder isn't matching up too well compared to, like, you see the skin tone on her back. But the shoulder joint and her back do match up pretty well. There's some give and take in there. Maybe it all should have just been one skin tone and maybe no tan or whatever they gave her here. This type of shading. So this hand, I do want to mention, this is a bit loose. It's a good thing her weapons aren't super heavy, but this is a very loose joint. I should not be able to. I'm barely doing that and flicking it, and it's a little loose, unfortunately. This one, the elbow's a little bit loose, but not too bad. I think it's still going to be able to keep a pose. Unfortunately, I'm already facing maybe just a tiny bit of QC. I think it could be much worse, but it's still, you know, again, for how much you're paying, it should be better. I don't think the fingernails look that good on here. Well, in person, it doesn't look that good, but now that I'm looking at it through the viewfinder of the camera, it's not that bad now. Definitely just ever so slightly some skin tone going into the glove and vice versa. You can see that there. But I think some of these black specks I can actually get off myself. I don't think they're actually permanently on the figure. But that's the inside of the palm there. You can see some creasing of her glove right there. And around the actual wrist part here, you see some creasing too. All that looking really nice. The rest of the, the rest of the dress does have a little bit of creasing in some areas, but you have this long strap going all the way down as part of the design. Not really strap, but just part of the design that goes all the way down here. It's almost like some type of, I'm not really sure what this would be called design-wise for her dress, but it goes all the way down. And it's just mostly just like, there's definitely a base coat of black on here, but there's not much shading on here, which is fine. It doesn't need to be anything else than just one solid black, honestly. Maybe a tiny bit of shading. But I still think it looks fine. A little bit of creasing towards the back. And this soft plastic piece, as you can see, maybe back out a little bit. So it is a softer plastic. This one here goes inward. And then all of these, these on this side here, both these, I should say, they'll cover it like that. And again, this is a softer plastic. I was afraid this is going to be way too, heavy of a plastic, but it is actually pretty pliable plastic. Be careful ripping it, of course. It will go back, into form, but like moving it out, it's actually, the leg is keeping its pose relatively well. Same thing with the front of the dress. This part here is a softer plastic, but I'm afraid that we'll eventually get creasing, like really bad creasing around here. Now, hear me out, y'all. This next part I have to show off because this was actually a bit of an articulation concern. So please don't demonetize me, YouTube. But we do have a thigh swivel engineered in here. Take my tweezers out very carefully. But that's the only thigh swivel there. There is no thigh swivel where the black meets the skin tone. That's where I thought it would be. There is, the thigh swivel still works. It's just that it could be much better if they just did it here. it still has a bit of a functional purpose though. I say that because I want her to kick out a lot more than at 90 degrees. She gets about perfect 90. If she could kick out just ever so, you know, even more above 90, you might be able to, well, okay, so it's not going to keep this pose, but she can kick a little bit over 90. But if she could keep a pose kicking over 90, that'd be nice. Anyway, let's move on with the rest of the review. We have just a basic skin tone. There's not that much shading there. This, I feel like it's a soft plastic overlay for the, you know, the thigh-high straps here. Not really straps, part of the boots. But then you have some pretty good creases around the knees. That black joint does look a little bit too smooth, but it still blends in relatively well. More creasing towards the ankles, and then again the ball joint on the ankles is a little bit distracting. And one thing I just completely forgot to mention is all these different rows detailing, all that sculpting in here, it's in there too on every piece of this skirt, and it all looks great. There's a little bit of black, like a black wash in some of these, and some of these don't have it, but that is still really awesome. That's sick. So that is really cool that there's that much attention to detail for that. I never even realized they were actually inside, you know, that design was inside of her skirt. Last but not least, we have her heels. She surprisingly stands fine, but doing more dynamic poses is going to be a little bit more tricky because of how small her feet are and because she has high heels. But the bottom does have some pretty nice red paint on there, and that's what the top looks like there. Some people might nitpick that, oh, a figure with heels shouldn't have toe hinge. Valid point. Here's the thing. I don't think it's that big of a deal, unfortunately. But yeah, you know, overall, detailing on this is fine. Some of the engineering here is just a little bit iffy. Before I move on with articulation, this is how the head system works. We have a dumbbell joint, and then you have some pegs here. So you just, you know, insert the correct slots for the face, like that, of course. Kicking my camera. Pop that back on, and voila, she looks fine. So we have, of course, dumbbell joint, and we also have a ball joint in the body at the neck, so it allows for this much tilt. The up is actually really good. Down is actually really decent, and these don't really get in the way that much. They'll go off to the sides, which doesn't look all that natural, but I think it's fine. Swiveling is no problem, and it even swivels here. It's just a little bit hard to grab the actual neck to swivel. So let's move these up real quick. We do have a little bit of a forward and back system here, just ever so slightly. Arms do go all the way around. They go in and out. A little bit of an upper arm swivel here too. These almost look like Figma joints. We have a little bit of a swivel here too, not that much. A little bit at the forearm as well, and it does get a little over 90. Standard wrist articulation for Tamashii Nation figures. You can go up and down, swivel it 2 ways, in and out. Ball jointed waist. Actually, it gets really decent range of motion. It can go back really far, but some of this plastic overlay might come out, so just be careful with that, just like it is right now. And that's as far forward it wants to go. The printing's not the greatest, but it's not too ugly, I don't think. Side to side and rotating. It's a little bit tight, but you can get a full rotation in there. Grabbing this, it's a little bit hard to see, but we do have thigh swivel, of course. The thigh swivel itself actually isn't too bad. Not a perfect split, but I think it's fine. I think a little bit of drop down here, so we can kick out that far. We do have a single joint knee that gets over 90. I think it swivels a tiny bit here and a little bit here around the shins. Up and down at the ankle, rotates a little bit. We do have a tiny bit of ankle rocker there, and then we do have toe hinge. Quick measurements before we do the size comparisons. We're looking at pretty close to 16 centimeters with Yor. That's pretty close to 6¼ inches tall. Over on the left, you can see the rest of the S.H. Figuarts Spy Family figures. Both parents tower over Anya, of course, with how young she is. But Lloyd, I think, is like a ½ inch taller than Yor. I feel like he's pretty tall, but I think he's just way too tall here, unfortunately. And over on the right next to, I just reviewed this Kakashi here. These are a little bit out of scale. I mean, to the top of the hair, they're about the same height, but you know, eyeball to eyeball, he's definitely shorter. But she actually isn't that bad in scale with a character like Gojo here. Overall, I am pretty satisfied with this figure. I think it could have been a little bit better. Mostly just a couple loose joints on my particular figure. A little bit of the shading and the skin tone isn't too consistent, as well as the leg articulation is just ever so slightly hindered. I wish it was just a little bit better. Mostly talking about the thigh swivel and the kick. but she can kick out a lot better than I thought she was going to. The skirt doesn't get in the way too much. All the different intricate details on this figure that make this outfit are done really well. They captured Yor, I would say, almost perfectly. Very impressed with how they sculpted all those different roses inside the skirt. It's not too heavy, like I said, so you can pose around just a little bit. It will go back in place, of course, not like on a bendy wire or anything, but it could be a lot worse, honestly, when it comes to that skirt. Different face plates, the hands, and the weapons are really nice. Maybe just a normal stern face would have been nice as well. The articulation we do have on here is also really sick, and I'm just really glad to have this figure. Some people are going to be waiting for the casual Yor instead, since we don't really see her as the Thorn Princess that often, and I totally understand that, but once we get to the cruise arc, you're definitely going to want to have this figure, if I'm being quite honest. And honestly, if you need any Spy Family merch, you don't want to wait, I do recommend picking up this figure if it is on the international websites right now. It will probably hit domestic in a couple months from now, hopefully. Cross your fingers. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think about this figure, what you think about the review. Leave a like, share amongst your friends. Follow me on Instagram for more content over there, and I'll see you guys later.